And so we've developed this framework that I think helps us do that, so we have this framework called four-dimensional wealth. And that really came out of my own experience with investing and feeling kind of this conflict between the purpose of investing purely to create like monetary wealth and like what God has put me on this earth for, right? And I think I can get into that story later, but like I think that God doesn't really care about money, and that's just my personal belief. And so if as an investor, I'm here to create money, then like, what am I doing? Right? Like, what am I doing to satisfy God? And so I think this four-dimensional wealth framework really helps redefine wealth in a way that for me aligns my profession with what God is asking me to do, like why he's put me on this earth. And it's not because it's been inspired by God, I would say like he's at the center of it all, but it's not a Christian framework, if you know what I mean. So the four dimensions of wealth are one, financial, and we are an investment company. We're in the business of making money. We want to generate competitive or superior to competitive returns. And that's, that's very important to us. But I think in addition to financial, relational, right? So like we're also creating relational capital and relational wealth. And that is essentially building and deepening bonds between people. So how are the companies that we're investing in, like how are we creating relational capital with the founders, but also how are they doing that in their businesses? And then third is social. So, we are here on this earth to steward this earth and this planet and the people in this planet. And God, really clearly states that in the Bible. And so it's not enough to just say, okay, well, we're making money and we're also, like deepening connections and, building close relationships. Like we also really need to think about our environment, our communities, the people who have been overlooked. And how are we creating businesses to actually serve those people? Yep. And then finally, it's intellectual. So intellectual capital, creating intellectual capital. And that's really maximizing the talents that God's given us, So I think we're called every day to show up as the best versions of ourselves because God has given us these incredible resources and talents, right? Whether it's our brain, whether it's our money, whether it's our network, whether it's just the clothes that we have, right? Like the fact that we can get up in the morning and walk out the door. And if we're not, utilizing those to the fullest to serve others, then we're not doing him, the justice, and we're not serving him fully. And so I think really for me, it was almost like an accountability because there's been so many times in my life where I feel like God works different for all of us, right? Like for me, God's usually like, he like hits me over the head with a frying pan. I'm doing my own thing. He taps me. I'm like, thanks God. He taps me again, he'll like hit me on the back. And then he's like, okay, you're not listening to me. And so this 4D wealth framework, we call it 4D wealth for short, really is to make sure that, I don't need to be hit over the head with a frying pan again, because I think God leads me to places and then I'm like, thanks God, like it's a bus stop, right? Like, thanks for dropping me off. Bye. And that's not what he wants. He wants us to be on the bus with him the whole time. And even though he leads me somewhere, I think there's an accountability around my own actions. And, like there's always this constant desire to do things for myself and, for my ego and my pride. And that's not pleasing to him. And that's not fulfilling to him. But I think it's challenging. It's not easy, right? Like we live in a world where it's about being the best and it's about competing and it's about, like headlines. And so really it's redefining what my definition of success is and aligning it with what I think what would be pleasing to God.